Hey everybody, welcome to the Rochester Real Estate Show, joined again by Anthony Butera, as always, with Jason Mancuso, here of the Anthony Butera team, Keller Williams Realty. Wanted to dive in today, as we talked last time, kind of the state of the union for the market and what's happening out there. We're cooling, we're shifting, we're coming off the extremes, right? So what does that mean for buyers out there? That's I think this is going to be geared towards buyers that have been sitting on the fence or waiting the extreme market conditions out on the seller side of the market, and what to do as a buyer at this point. Essentially, like one way to look at it is what's the difference in buying today compared to 12 months ago, right?
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference.
Huge short-term difference, right? And short-term, just 12 months ago, the rate was literally half of what it is today.
And I guess I'll backtrack. I think the point of this episode is to dive into it, but I don't want to say huge. There's differences because
Let's argue.
It can be a swing in terms of how things operated 12 months ago compared to now. But let's first talk about 12 months ago. Basically bidding wars everywhere, ton of competition everywhere, over asking price on every listing pretty much. No shot at having a home inspection. If you're not a buyer with 20% down and a huge, liquid deposit that you can put up, you're perceived as weak and pushed down compared to other buyers if there was competition. And that was just it. It was essentially, hey, how comfortable can you get, with how high you have to go and how little of contingency that you can structure with any contract you're negotiating. Fair?
Fair. Cash buyer,
Right.
willing to waive inspections, 12 months ago, was able to win in a multiple offer scenario.
Well, not only that, there was oftentimes multiple of
cash,
those.
yeah. But like the likelihood of your offer getting accepted, right? With cash, at least you had a 20% chance of it getting accepted if you were pushing to the top of the monetary offer, right? Mm-hmm. Where today, buyers that are looking to get a VA loan, buyers that are looking to get an FHA loan, buyers that are looking to get, remember this term, seller's concessions? Now they can get a home. And even the buyers that are financially strong, now you go from being more competitive in a multiple offer situation to being able to, remember this term, negotiate, right? We haven't had
comical.
to. Yeah, it is.
It's comical.
And like in a few years, we're going to be doing this podcast, and I'm going to say, remember escalation clauses? Right?
Yep.
Because we just learned about those in 2016?
They didn't exist before.
Yeah, 2017. First time I received one, I called the agent and said, "Get rid of this. What are you doing?" And then I learned that this was a thing 20-something years ago, right? And it became a thing, and it's still a thing, and yet it is the number of them has decreased dramatically because the number of offers have decreased dramatically. The likelihood of a house going past about this term, delayed negotiation, a house that the likelihood of a house going past the delayed negotiation, no matter if it was substantially overpriced, was extremely slim. Mm-hmm. Real estate agents have been able to throw a property on the market and list it for anything, and they still look like the heroes. Comps meant nothing. Emotional purchases have been taking place, especially when you get multiple offers. It's just it's been happening, right? And buyers can start having home inspections again. Remember that? Home inspections. So it's a lot different, and the buyers that have been losing out to multiple offers for the past 12 months, you have opportunities out there again.
So here's where I'll argue with you.
Okay.
Yes, but it's case by case. Yes, I think if we listen to this who the hell knows, right? But if I were to make a prediction, yeah, next year, like even more off the extreme, right? Even more cooling and could be shifted fully at that point. Right now, like we're still in a seller's market by definition.
Let me reframe this. Homes that make it past the delayed negotiations with no offers, right?
Sure.
Buyers that need a seller's concession, buyers that want to do a VA mortgage or an FHA mortgage. You have opportunities now that
Correct.
did not exist
Correct.
12
Yes.
months ago.
The opportunities exist where they didn't 12 months ago. That's the way to look at it.
If you were getting a VA or an FHA offer accepted 12 months ago, it was likely a home that was overpriced to a level where even if you had no competition, you still couldn't buy it because it wouldn't appraise
Right.
for how much you were willing to pay just to get a home at any cost.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think the big difference is that, non-existent to now existent, and that'll evolve as time goes.
Yep.
It should anyway, with the market conditions that are out there. There's going to be more plentiful options for buyers. I think so, the advice would be like, hey, if you're listening to this as a buyer, don't just think you're going in guns blazing on the perfect 10, house that's totally remodeled, has, had 50 showings, which we're still seeing out there, okay? And priced accordingly to get that bidding war. But for every one of those, there's now probably another one that you have opportunity to be more competitive if you're either not willing to be competitive or you're not, set up for it financially, right? Meaning you need the concessions. You got the, not a strong conventional loan product. You're able to kind of, you're able to compete. You're able to get into the market now where, those conversations sucked the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's like, look at it. I realize that your lender presented seller concessions as an option for you to get into a home with.
Yep.
We haven't done one in 2-3 years at that point.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to get anything stick. I got to shoot you straight and tell you that. I'm still not saying it's impossible, but we're betting on the Jets to win the Super Bowl.
Well,
and for sellers, like, don't listen to this and be like, oh shit, we lost our window.
yeah.
Now we're done. We're in market tanked.
Window still exists. There's an overflow of buyers. There's a lack of inventory. That's your opportunity, right? And I will say this, that buyers, even when the rates, right, like they didn't know the rates were going to be double what they were 12 months ago. And let's face it, 50% of buyers just didn't have the stomach to compete in multiple offer situations. And if they did, and they wrote 5 offers and none were accepted, they checked out of the market.
Yep.
This is a market now for every personality, right?
Yeah, you just got to understand that you can't have you can't look back on the interest rate and like, well, you can't have your cake and eat it too, I guess, right?
Yeah, can't live in regret. You have to focus on the opportunity. And your opportunity as a buyer is that home, right, is going to, unless you bought it last year and you're calling us to sell it this year, your home is going to increase in value.
Over time, yeah, for sure.
It's cyclical.
I think shameless plug time. I think this market that we're in already is going to weed out or really, if you're a buyer and working with an agent who's not getting after it for you, you're still not going to win. Mm-hmm. But, the agents now more than ever, it used to be, an easy process more or less in terms of like representing a buyer, and I'm like generalizing here, okay? But just what I mean is that, we find out pretty quickly, I've got 10 offers in hand already. Yeah. At that point, it's like back to the buyer and they have 10 offers, so we got to put our best foot forward. That's usually a pretty easy conversation in terms of like, all right, if you're contingent on anything, you're weak now. So, how comfortable are you? And let's give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like you gotta, we really have to have the skills as agents to get to the bottom of each situation, be able to present that to the buyer, be able to negotiate effectively, build rapport, all that stuff in order to, get your deal won representing you.
Unfortunate reality, 90% of real estate agents think that we're in the market that we were in 90 days ago, or 120 days ago or 180 days ago, right? Like they still think we're in that market. This is why we're constantly in conversations with our team around what the market looks like today, not last week, today, right? Because if they cannot articulate what the opportunity is, they'll never be able to create the urgency.
Never be able to also know how to represent you with your best interests in mind. You're going to lose opportunity if you're a buyer, and you're going to not get as much as you can as a seller.
Yeah. So it's funny because now, going back to the conversations we've been having with agents the last few years, right? How many times have you heard, well, there's no way I would ever allow my buyers to spend that much on that house? Well, congratulations, Tracy. Now they're still out there, and their interest rate is twice as much because you could not articulate the opportunity in buying in a market where they felt like they were overpaying. Right. Historically speaking, sure they were, right? And now they wish they can go back in time.
Well, that's what happened the last 4 or 5 years. Every year, starting off with this, this isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
That was a conversation of like 18, 19.
Yeah.
Then 2020 happened, and on top of the real estate market going bonkers, everything else did, it seemed like too. So just throw the logic out.
Yeah,
is what happened.
And stop focusing on the one that got away.
Well, plenty of buyers from that time period before 2020.
Yeah.
That didn't want to compete then. Imagine how they're feeling right now.
Or 2019 or 18 or 17.
Right, because now their opportunity is to buy the same house for still more than what it was in 2017, once all the dust settles. I guess it's a prediction at a higher interest rate.
Yeah, it's just interesting, right? When you talk about the psychology around buyers, buyers would prefer, many would prefer to pay more today without competition than they were willing to with competition, right? It's just for some reason they feel assured, where our logic was, hey, listen, if you won and there was 15 offers, you have security in that there may have been someone that offered more than you, but you had better terms, or there was somebody that offered as much as you or just slightly under you, right? So the demand was there at that time, so it made sense at that time, and it still makes sense at this time.
Well, here's the perspective too, right? In terms of again, dangerous to predict the future, but I'll relate to my personal situation.
Your wife always talks about the guy that got away.
Right.
She always, right? Every time I see her, got to bring up Bruce, and it's like, Christina, you cannot live in the past. You have Jason now.
Correct.
Go ahead.
I was talking about our house.
Oh, Jesus. This is awkward.
So we bought 15 or 16. So before things got crazy. We were actually just looking at it the other night because we were looking at old pictures and like, oh, man, wow, under asking price? Yeah. $5,000 under asking price? Wow, that was crazy. So now 7-8 years later. So we're in that, last episode we were talking about 10-year cycles, right? So we're in that category. If in the next 2 years the doom and gloom market tanks, I'm so confident, even if our house was in the same condition it was then, that it still sells for more than what we bought it for.
But of course.
Predictions are dangerous, but I mean this is just it's a financial vehicle when you break it down, right? I mean, I know you want a place to call home, but this is a financial asset that's in large, you're not going to lose around as long as you're making, not total cowboy decisions, right? Around timing more so than anything.
Yeah, and all my friends that have turned super conservative and they're afraid of purchasing anything are the same ones that were trying to talk me into Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, depending.
Yeah, depending. So the point of this isn't just listen, we don't want to be salesy and just say, hey, listen, today's the best time to buy. But if homes existed for less than 3 years, today is not the best time, right?
Right.
And yet, historically speaking, every day is the best time, right? You just need time for it to make sense in a market that is shifting.
Well, and that's a good point. It's not like we're talking about assets that have a shelf life of, very small time. Don't get me wrong, a home can deteriorate if you don't take care of it, but it's not like gonna, poof, go away.
Yeah. You didn't buy Blockbuster stocks.
Right.
You didn't buy Kodak stocks.
So situational, case by case. Point is, still, if you're listening to this as a seller, still land of opportunity out there. You have to be more strategic than ever, arguably, or at least in the last 3-4 years. And as a buyer, get into the game if this is a priority goal that you have, because you're gonna find situations. Sure, there's gonna be bidding war. How comfortable are you? How high do you want to go?
Yeah.
But there's also going to be the next one that oh, what do you mean? There's no other offers on the table right now? Let's throw an inspection contingency at them.
Yeah.
Or whatever's important to you. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Anthony Butera, Jason Mancuso of the Anthony Butera team. Thanks for checking out the Rochester Real Estate Show, and you can visit us on anthonybuterateam.com.
Thank you.